Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this zippered pouch. You can use it as a toiletry bag or makeup bag or whatever you'd like. The first thing you are going to need is fabric. You're going to need about half a yard. I used quilter's cotton here, and if you wanted to have a contrasting fabric, you can use two different colors, one for the inside and one for the outside. Next, you will need a 14-inch zipper, and the last thing you will need is fusible fleece and matching thread. The first thing you're going to do is cut your fabric and your fusible interfacing to 9.5 by 13 inches. To make your tabs on the side of the bag, you are going to need a piece of fabric that measures 2.25 by 7 inches. The first thing you're going to do is fold this in half and press, and then fold in 1/4 inch on each edge and press again. Then stitch down 1/8 of an inch on each side. You will end up with a piece that looks like this, and then you're going to cut this in half, so then you have a tab for each side of the bag. At this step, you will fuse your fleece to the fabric that will go on the inside of the bag. Next, you're going to take one of the pieces that will go on the inside, placing it right side up, and then placing your zipper on top, right side up, and then placing the fabric you want to go on the outside of the bag, right side down. Pin this together and stitch. Next, you're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure to back stitch when you start and stop. Next, you're going to repeat the process from before, taking the piece that you want on the inside, placing it right side up, and then placing your new piece where the zipper is. You're going to place that also right side up, and then take the other outside piece and place that right side down. Then you are going to pin and stitch again using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. At this step, I would press that top piece down and the bottom piece under, and then top stitch. When I was filming this, I made a mistake and I top stitched only through one layer. Typically, you would do this through both layers, and you can do that after you've attached both the front and back to the zipper. You really won't be able to tell unless you're looking on the inside, but here I top stitched through only the top layer on one side and through both layers on the other, but it doesn't matter. Next, you will take your outside pieces and face them right sides together, and then stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here I am stitching the bottom of the bag with that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Remember to backstitch at the beginning and end of your stitches. We're doing a 1/2 inch because we're going to zigzag stitch in the seam allowance just to keep it from fraying. Here I am zigzag stitching that same edge in between the stitches that I laid down before and the raw edge. So here are those zigzag stitches up close. So you have your 1/2 inch seam allowance and then your zigzag stitches. The next thing I'm going to do is trim up those edges so they're nice and neat. Trim up to the zipper, but not through the zipper. The next thing you're going to do is fold your bag like this. You're going to take the seam line and you're going to match it up with the center of your zipper, and you're going to pin that down, but first you're going to put the tabs that we made earlier. I'm going to fold that tab in half and place it between the two layers, lining it up in the center of the seam line and the zipper. Line the raw edge up with the raw edge of your bag. Words are hard. So now you're going to sandwich those all together and pin them. Make sure that you pin them pretty well, that way that little tab doesn't move anywhere. Now you are going to stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to do the same thing we did before. Stitch the straight stitches, and then you're going to go back and stitch over with a zigzag stitch. When you are stitching over the zipper or the bulkier parts of the bag, which is where like the zipper and the seam line and everything all line up, I like to use the move the wheel manually with my hand. I have broken a needle before, and it's not very fun. Here I am going over that same edge with the zigzag stitches after we've already stitched our straight stitches. Again, be very careful when you get to the zipper. I really suggest using moving the wheel manually with your hand. So here is that side all finished. So we have our straight stitches and then another line of zigzag stitches. Then you're going to do the same to the other side, but before we stitch this side down, we're going to make sure that we open up our zipper. That way we can turn our bag inside out. Open it up about 3/4 of the way, and then you can take that zipper tape and fold it over so that way it overlaps, and that way it goes through the machine a little bit easier. So here I am overlapping that zipper, again trying to make it as flat as possible, and then I'm putting the tab right in the center so we have everything all lined up. Next, you are going to trim off that extra zipper using your non-fabric scissors. Just go ahead and take them and then trim, making sure not to cut through your stitches. Okay, we are almost done. The next thing we are going to do is work on getting our bag into that boxy shape. The first thing we're going to do is mark in each corner of the bag 1 3/4 inches from the stitch line and 1 3/4 inches from the folded edge. So then you have a box marked out in each corner, measuring 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inches. Okay, so now we have marked those boxes in all 4 corners. The next thing we are going to trim along those lines. And so I think the easiest way to do this is to trim towards the center and then trim towards the outside, like I'm doing it right in this clip here, instead of trimming to where they meet, if like I did in the first one, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. But that way you don't cut any further than you need to. Okay, so this is a bonus step. You can take a marking tool and mark on that folded edge there. See where I have it marked red? And then you're going to line that up with this seam line here. This will ensure that your corners are nice and square and even on all 4 corners. So now you can pin these edges and take it over to your sewing machine. Again, you can stitch a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then again stitching in the seam allowances with a zigzag stitch. You're going to want to make sure that your seam allowances are facing the same direction. I made this mistake when I was making my own bag. I think one is facing up and one is facing down. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice if they're going the same way. So here I am stitching those corners up. Make sure to backstitch when you start and when you stop, and do this on all 4 sides. Okay, and we are done. So now you are going to flip your bag inside out. There's my little mistake, but that's okay. Flip it inside out and you are all done, and now you have a brand new bag. You can use it to put pencils in, makeup, put it in your backpack to keep your bag a little bit more organized, whatever you'd like. Enjoy, and please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment and let me know if you have any questions or if you'd like to see me make any other crafts or if you have any other suggestions. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.